Kids will get a kick out of Yakko Wacko and Dot dropping a big anvil on Barney, and the adults will laugh at fingerprints. And
Yeah.
someday, the kids who laughed at the Barney stuff are going to laugh at fingerprints and go, "Oh my God, I had no idea." And that was all by design, which is one of the reasons you can watch Bugs and Daffy now and they're not necessarily off color, but they're very hip jokes and cultural references that you didn't get, or I didn't get when I watched them when I was 9 years old. Great opening. Very cool.
That means a lot coming from you.
That's very nice. I do a lot of these. And who did your animation?
Oh, people, you can already hear us talking to a familiar voice over here, and oh, what a voice it is. It's a
Oh,
voice.
sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Hey, listen, I'll take a compliment where and whenever it comes from you, no matter where it is. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye for my.
People, you can already see who I'm talking to right here. Familiar face, but extremely familiar voice. A lot of you grew up with that voice. I'm here once again with Mr. Rob Paulsen. How you doing, Rob?
Hello, Kevin. Greetings from the water tower. Everybody here is okay. As I said to you earlier, I'm breathing. I'm not in jail. Day's not over yet, so I aim high. That's what I say.
You know what? Like I told you, man, not only are you breathing, not only are you not in jail, but I mean, come on. I mean, all of us can do that, but you are extremely successful, as a lot of people know. We're here to talk to Rob today about, of course, his career, which we always do. But Rob, we're here to talk to you about the third and final season of Animaniacs on Hulu. I'm going to show a little people the trailer to the third and final season right here.
Please do, yeah.
The most powerful
Oh, wait a minute. That is not the trailer right there. Not the one I want to show. Here it is. This is the trailer right here.
I won! I caught the mouse!
Come on, kids.
Security breach! Yay!
I think I know where this is going.
I don't, so no spoilers.
Need bright ideas how to break out of here?
Ideally, in a way that parodies classic movies that's fun for both kids and their parents.
So as you can see, still the humor that appeals to all generations that watch this show. We're going to ask you about this. You know, to answer your question, Paul, real quick, you know, you were asking where this animation came from. This was done by someone who just really liked what we do, and he just sent this over and told us to use this whenever you like.
God, isn't that great? I have to say, Kevin, I've had that experience a couple of times where people just, that old adage, art for the sake of the art. And I love that because that's essentially what drives all of us. You and I, we're all in the same business. We're in the happy business. And I don't know anyone, Maurice LaMarche, Frank Welker, Tress McNeil, any of us, Tara Strong, who get a chance to do this lovely work for American dollars. I don't know any of us who started doing it because we thought we'd make a lot of money. We all started as kids, 10, 12, 15, 18 years old, doing live theater, creating, drawing, comic, whatever it is. And it's worked out, but I promise you what drives me and others is not the money. I've been rich and I've been poor, and rich is better. But the only reason I make money is because I'm focused on what it was that got me out here to LA from Michigan 45 years ago. It's still the same Jones to do stuff that makes me and other people happy. So when folks like your friend who gave you that animation, which is terrific, people just do it because they want to help you be in the happy business, man. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And it's amazing how many talented people there are out there, who, again, just so talented that they do this kind of stuff just for fun. I'm almost envious of the person that did this. Now, I'm going to say something real quick. You can call me whatever you like. I don't mind. Okay. I don't care what you say. You can call me a shoe if you want to, but you're mixing me up with my production assistant, who's Kevin. I'm Korey. So.
Oh, Korey, I'm sorry. I thought you were Kevin Kling. I'm sorry. Forgive me. That was your friend. I thought
I'll be Kevin if you want me to.
No. I'm so sorry, and I should have known better. My bad, but I called you Kevin, and that was my bad because I've been corresponding with Kevin.
Yeah.
So, folks, I apologize. I just opened my mouth to change feet. So thank you, Korey. At least I started with the same first letter of your name. So
Yes, you did.
my bad, Korey.
Now,
Thank you very much
You know
for
what?
being so kind.
You can make up for that because you did the Yakko voice earlier while you were and you said Kevin when you did it.
All right.
If I may
I'll
ask,
say,
you do it my name.
hello, Korey. There we go. Way better.
We're all good now. Everything is right in the world. We're perfect.
Great.
This gets brought up a lot with you, but I'm going to bring it up again because it's an amazing story. You know, you are a voice actor that had throat cancer at
Surprise.
one time. I know. I mean, if this was a movie, people would be saying that's stupid. That is too cliche. That would never happen. But you beat the odds and you got your career back when I believe when people told you that you wouldn't. So how are you doing these days?
I'm doing fine, man. I really appreciate you bringing that up, Korey. I'm gonna die someday, but not from throat cancer. Not unlike many of your viewers or listeners, or any of the folks who are fans of some of the work I do. Virtually everyone has been touched, sadly, by cancer, in whether it's in an existential way or directly themselves, or mom, dad, aunt, uncle. So I'm no different. I was diagnosed several years ago with stage 3 metastatic squamous cell carcinoma of the throat. I don't smoke. I don't, drink a lot of booze. Nothing. I've always been an athletic person. I take care of myself, but stuff happens. And I was very fortunate that I had wonderful health insurance. We know how difficult that is these days.
Yeah.
And man, like everybody who gets diagnosed with a really difficult disease or something that that really knocks them for a loop. I had people who will be in my life probably for the rest of it who jumped on it within a week. I had a team of people who all had different disciplines, and their collective aim was to do what they did, was to save my life, just like they do with a lot of other people. I was told, we're virtually sure we can cure you, but before we do, we almost have to kill you. And that's not hyperbole. For obvious reasons, it's never easy to undergo pretty onerous treatments, whether it's in my case, radiation and chemo, no surgery. But for obvious reasons, my throat, my mouth, once the radiation beats you up, it's pretty difficult because you can't eat, you can't drink for a while. But man, it worked beautifully. All the doctors were not sure if I'd be able to do my work at the same level, but here I am. And the most remarkable thing, Korey, which has been an answer to a zillion prayers, was that once Animaniacs, our reboot, came around, I was recording those after I had my treatment. And the fact that no one was any the wiser was the best gift I could have received. I was very concerned that, I would not be able to do it, and therefore they probably wouldn't do the series because the whole idea from Mr. Spielberg was that the characters are authentic, or rather the authenticity of the characters was what he wanted to keep going. So he wanted to hire Tress, Maurice, Jess, and me. So I think probably if I had not been able to do it, and it's not arrogance, I don't know that it would have been done because it's pretty much all or nothing. So the fact that I was able to do it at a level that honors the characters and the audience enjoys, I won the lottery. The doctors did a brilliant job of staying away from the healthy tissue and just zapping the bad stuff. And man, I am just literally every day stunned at the the extent to which I'm able to do what I've done for a long time.
Seriously, congratulations. That's such an amazing story to hear, and it's one of those stories that you almost moved to tears by happiness for you, man. That you
Well,
you overcame
thanks.
that.
I appreciate it. And like I said, why not me? I mean, it's not, I'm not a super brave guy, but remember, Korey, when I was diagnosed, I was already 60 years old. I'd had, by any measure, a wonderful career. I had won awards. My son has grown and married. Everything. I had nothing about which to be sad. I mean, nobody wants to, I'm not ready to leave, but even if the doctors had given me the worst news and said, look, man, you better go home and get your stuff together because you're on your way out. Happens all the time. Why not me? But that's not what they said. As I mentioned before, they thought they were pretty sure they could cure me, but I didn't have small children. I wasn't a 35-year-old guy with a brand new wife. I was just an old geezer who had to take a couple of shots, and it was my turn in the cancer cage. But the best part about it now, apart from the fact that I can work, which is selfish, really, but when nice people like you are kind enough to not only have me on your show, but ask me about it, you and I never know when someone who's watching your terrific show, and as people may know, this is the second time I've been on, and I'm very grateful for that. But people never know when they might be watching you and they have someone in their life who might even be going through the same thing that I did. And the opportunity to share my story that has a happy ending and that people can say, oh my God, hey, Uncle Bill, I just saw this guy on Korey's show. Ron Pullman, I don't know his name, but the guy, remember how much we loved Pinky and the Brain when we were growing up, and you called me when you were in college and you said, hey man, you got to watch this show. Well, check this out. When you hear this guy, he's Pinky and you can't tell the difference. Uncle Bill, you got this, man. You're going to be okay. That's really a big deal. That's a really big deal to have authentic, valuable, live, right in front of your face, examples, proof that you can get through this. And I really appreciate the opportunity, man. I had a platinum lining to my experience, and that is that nice folks like you allow me to talk about it, and it might help people.
No, that's amazing. I was thinking the same thing. It is an inspiration. It's hopeful for people out there.
Yeah.
My sister had just gone through breast cancer, and she beat that. She's fine, but
God bless her.
No, yeah, and it's and similar to your story, she also not a smoker, not a big drinker. So do you think that maybe that has something to do with helping you through your recovery?
Well, that's a really excellent point. I don't know that anybody's ever asked me that. I will tell you that when I was diagnosed, generally, people who go through head and neck cancers, like mine, pardon me, have a G tube, a gastric tube installed in their stomach because it's difficult to eat for a while, and they squirt a bunch of food in your stomach. You do it at home, and it keeps you healthy and keeps your weight on. I lost 50 pounds, and I didn't have it to lose. But in my case, my oncologist told me right away, he said, look, usually we prescribe to have these G tubes inserted in your stomach, and then when you're done, we pull it out, stitch it up, off you go. But as your immune system is going to take a bit of a hit, we'd prefer not to cut on you if we can help it. And you're in really good shape. And you have no pre-existing conditions. You're not overweight, not pre-diabetic. You don't abuse your body. So we're pretty sure you can do this without the advantage of the YouTube or the G-tube, without the, we could all do without YouTube sometimes, but no, without the benefit, I should say, or the necessity of the G-tube. Now, so to that extent, your point is well taken. I think that I probably did deal with the whole experience better than some folks my age. And I am so grateful. However, if I had to do it again, I probably would say, could you go ahead and put the G tube in? Because the weight loss was really tough. I didn't mind losing a couple of pounds, but when it got to be, I was down to 128 pounds at 5'10", and I was about $170 when I started. So it was very difficult. But I was told a number of times that, man, you don't have anything else going on. You're in good shape. So here we go. So I think you're right. That's a really excellent point, Korey, that I think my relative good health helped a lot. In fact, I know from experience that often when there's something that's either a significant surgical procedure, maybe for cancer or whatever, that doctors will tell someone who isn't in particularly good shape, we're going to have to lose some weight, get your A1C down, get your blood work a little bit better because you're not in particularly good shape right now. So we've got to get you in better shape before we start cutting on you. And in my case, that was not an issue. As soon as I was diagnosed, I went right into treatment and got it took care of, as they say. So that's the cautionary tale, folks, is when you get to be an older person, please take as good a care of yourself as possible, because when the normal stuff happens about getting older, doesn't have to be cancer, I'm not saying that, but your body responds so much better if you're in reasonable health. And, you only get one of these, man. You get one remarkable machine, and things break. So take it in for service and get it looked at.
Hey, man, listen to this man. He overcame. He knows what he's talking about.
Right.
Again, more inspiration and hope right there. Good advice,
Yes, sir.
too. My mom's pushing, she's going to be 90 in about 4 years, and she still runs the streets, man, and does crazy stuff. And people say it's because she took care of herself well. So this man's telling the
gonna
truth
be
over here.
90?
She's going to be 90 in about 4 years. So,
God bless her.
Yeah.
Dude, that's fantastic. That's well done, Mrs. Coleman. That makes me so happy. I just love to hear that. I tell you, I live in Hollywood. I mean, every now and then I'll see Dick Van Dyke. He's 96 now. My God, every time I see a video of him at Starbucks in Malibu, somebody will ask him if he's, hey, Mr. Van Dyke, do you still know? He goes, I sure do. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And it's the most precious, wonderful thing. The guy's going to probably die someday in the middle of a laugh. It's wonderful to see that. And with all we know about nutrition and supplements, all that stuff, smoking and drink, all we know now is it sort of renders it a little bit silly that you that you do these things to your body when look, it's not a problem to have a Big Mac. You just can't have 3 of them a day. And I'm not a health nut, but it's just your mom's a great example. She's going to be, 86 by any measure that's a great age to reach. And if she's looking forward to it with a smile and she's got her faculties, and that's just wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah, man. And hey, with the way things are going, you're going to go well past that too. So,
hey, man, from your lips to God's ears, I would love to be doing nothing but making silly noises when I'm 100.
And hey, look, it seems like that's going to be the case, man. And that'll be a gift to all of us. Speaking of doing silly voices or just voices, you do, it's a skill. You do it well. You're a very talented man.
You can call it whatever you want. Somebody pays me American dollars to do what used to get me in trouble in 7th grade. So,
well, if I do say it, I say it with the utmost respect, because I'm right there with people where I've listened to your voice for years and didn't realize. I said this last time I think I talked to you. I didn't realize I was listening to you when I was a kid. I thought I was listening to you around college. No, you've been a huge part of so many different generations. Animaniacs, of course, is something that a lot of people know you for. As we mentioned earlier, you do the voice of Pinky and the Brain.
There I am right there.
And man, it just makes me so, I get giddy whenever I hear you do the voice in front of me, because I never
So
thought I
good.
would be sitting in front of somebody who I love watching doing the voice right there. You also
Thank
do
you.
Yakko Warner. There's another
Yeah.
character, Dr. Scratch and Sniff, that you do.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Again,
is me too.
again, man, it's amazing to sit up here and see you do this in front of me. But this is the final season of Animaniacs
Yes.
on
On
Hulu.
Hulu, yes.
On Hulu, yeah. So, what was the decision to make this the last season? Do you know?
I don't, and I'm not being coy. I presume it was something that Hulu, the folks at Hulu decided on. I know that Hulu is owned by Disney. I don't know if that played into the calculus. However, geez, Korey, geez, the truth is, I was just talking to a friend of mine on the phone named Kevin Conlon, and so I went from Kevin Kling to Corey Coleman.
It's just
Corey
too many
Coleman,
K's around here,
Kling,
man.
and Kevin Conlon. Okay. I don't know, Corey, the specifics of what went into the decision, but I do know that if you had asked me 10 years ago, and a lot of fans did at events, gosh, do you think they'll ever reboot it? Because, man, you and Maurice do Pinky and the Brain perfectly, and Tress does, Dot. I mean, maybe they'll do it again. I said, look, we had a glorious time, but I really don't think Mr. Spielberg's on a different stuff. And here we are. So I learned a lot. That is not to never say never. So we did 3 seasons on Hulu. Thank you very much. They've been wonderful. But you never know. We might be having the same chat about something else, about a movie, about ending up on a Warner Brothers owned streaming platform. I have no idea. And there may be, I just read something a couple weeks ago in the trades about a show I did years ago called Biker Mice from Mars that's getting a reboot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be in it because it'll be a new producer and a new owner of the property, but that's coming back. I hear a lot of people who would love to have Jimmy Neutron come back. They like Carl and all those other weird characters. So, and Ninja Turtles, my God, I've been in 2 iterations of Ninja Turtles. I was Raphael when you were a little guy, or maybe before you were born. And then I was Donatello in a 2012 version on Nickelodeon. And Seth Rogen's got a Ninja Turtles feature coming out this summer. Who knows? So the great part about my gig, no one cares what I look like as long as I can perform, be creative, sing, all that. So I am not going to say never about any of the shows on which I've worked, especially Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain.
Well, that's an amazing attitude. And listen, you're so busy. I know that you're going to move on to the next thing, but you've done these characters for so long now. Again, generations, and people love them.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sure that you appreciate the time that you've had with them, is this still sort of a sad feeling to be leaving these characters again?
Is it what now? I'm sorry?
Is it a sad feeling to be leaving these characters again?
Oh, sure. Anytime, from a practical standpoint, anytime a gig is over, it's a drag because, in my business, you got to learn to love the hustle. And so I am very clear that it's the characters who are the stars. I don't draw them. I don't write them. I'm really good at my job, but so are you. We've been doing this a while. We should be good at our jobs. But without a huge group, 100, maybe 150 people, all involved in creating a show like this, especially with a gentleman like Mr. Spielberg running the show, you get the best of everything. It's wonderful. So when it ends, it's a drag from a practical standpoint because you're not working. But yeah, personally, I miss these characters. Now, I'm very lucky that I go to a lot of conventions around the country, and they're so ubiquitous now. They're like, they spring up like zits on a 12-year-old, man. They're everywhere. And Oh my God, Korey, it's never not wonderful. Maurice and I were just in Atlanta yesterday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And anytime we get to go visit conventions, we come home after 3 days at, whatever con, exhausted from saying thank you. It's the most wonderful experience in the world. And were it not for those privileged opportunities that I have, I never would have known the extent to which these characters connect with people's souls, man. People love these characters, and not just mine. I don't care if it's Bart or Mickey or Goofy or Rick and Morty or The Simpsons. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that's magical about cartoons, Bugs is 75 years old, man.
Oh yeah,
People love
yeah.
it. And to be part of that equation now is a privilege for which I've worked very hard, and I just can't get enough of it. So even though I'm sad that, after this Friday, on this 17th, the third season begins airing on Hulu, and all of them are out at the same time. So there are 10 of them coming out, 10 episodes. So even though I'm a little bit bummed that that's happening, the next convention I get to go to, I'm going to be able to sing United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, and do Nerf and Hey God, Brian, and all that stuff, and Turtle Power, and Hi Jimmy, and all of it. So the characters are always in my cabeza, and every time I bring them out, all it does is make people happy, man. When people find out who I am and what I do, all it does is make them smile. I can't even quantify what that compliment means to me. I've won the lottery, man.
It's I mean, it shouldn't be refreshing or very nice to hear that somebody is so appreciative that they give that time and they give back to people who love it. Because I mean, there are a lot of people who don't. There are a lot of people who don't want to. I don't want to sing this song again. I don't want to repeat this joke. I don't want to do the voice again. Or you got to pay me to do that. If you want it. I mean, you're somebody who is so appreciative of what they've achieved in life and so happy to give it back. That moves me. It really does. It moves me so much.
Thank you, buddy. Well, that's very kind. I really appreciate it. And it's authentic. I have been in the position in which I've met people, working with people I grew up watching or listening to, Jonathan Witters, Mel Blanc, June Foray, Carol Channing, John Aston, people I can't even remember them all. I've been in LA for 45 years, and so I've gotten to grow up and work with people who blew me away when I was a kid. And I've been in that position of feeling like I'm just, I'm having a shock go through my head by hearing something that I heard when I was 10 years old that stuck with me. So to be in a position now where all I have to do is say, hello, nurse, or North, or whatever, Turtle Power, Cowabunga. Oh my God, this is where I get tongue-tied. There's nothing better than being the source of joy for anyone. And I've gotten way more than my share of that experience, and I can't get enough of it.
By the way, some people that you probably grew up with was influenced by, they're still performing. Rich Little is still performing in Las Vegas right now.
I know. My buddy Maurice is from Canada, like Rich. I think Rich is from Ottawa, if I'm not sure. Maurice is from Toronto, the Brain. And he's met Rich on a number of occasions. And so is William Shatner. Bill Shatner comes to all these conventions. He's 94 now.
Wow.
And my God, the dude just went into space last year.
That's right.
It's the coolest thing in the world to see people still doing their gigs, still having a great time. Christopher Lloyd, from Taxi or Back to the Future, is a lot of these events. He's, I don't know, mid-70s, close to 80. Mick Jagger's 80. Steven Spielberg, 76.
Wow.
This is the coolest. It's great. And they are all driven by the joy to do what they would do for free. It's that simple.
I think creativity is a sort of fountain of youth, or just energetic boost to just living life. That's the thing.
Exactly.
You're not like an athlete. You're as long as you can be creative, you're working your mind and you can keep going. So that's
That's
great
right.
thing.
How many times? That's exactly right. And how many times you hear people, obviously it's a little different when you're a professional athlete. I'm a big sports nut. I played hockey my whole life, and the only thing I would have wanted to be was a hockey player. And I learned pretty early that I had neither the talent, temperament, nor dental insurance to make a nickel playing hockey for a living. But it's often tough for people to give it up because when you're a professional athlete, and dare I say, an actor, you've wanted to do that since you've been a kid. So something that's been a part of your whole ethos and your DNA is all of a sudden, time catches up with you. But in this case, literally, as long as I can speak and create and my brain works, I could work in a wheelchair. And I'm freaking serious. If that were true, if that came to happen, I would absolutely do my gig. It's so much a part of me. My whole vibe is about joy, music, creativity, collaboration, talking with people I've spoken with on a number of occasions, young people. I love talking to new, creative, smart folks. There's plenty of room in show business for everybody.
Yeah.
And I just love it when I meet new people who just blow my mind. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Looking at what you've done with so many different properties and voices and so many, and being involved in so many projects, it's rare for anybody to come back to another property like you have with Animaniacs. But that brings up an interesting question, which is, how has doing Animaniacs now, how is that different from doing it in the 90s?
Well, technically, obviously, there are significant technical advances in the procedure in terms of animation, or the production, not procedure, but the production, the way things are done. We don't use tape anymore. Everything is on digital stuff. And however, my process is no different. Acting is acting. My background is theater and live music and all that. So that hasn't changed. But I don't know that I've ever taken any of my work for granted because I'm very aware of how difficult it is to not only get a gig, but get enough to be able to pay your bills and have a house and send your kid to college, and all of that done with, making silly noises, buying dog food and toilet paper. It's pretty cool. But certainly down the road, now that I'm older and I've gotten a chance to see the intergenerational or cross-generational, I should say, joy that Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain and all that music we got to perform, to see firsthand a couple generations who both love those shows as much as the other one, perhaps for different reasons, but they both love it. I know I can speak for the other folks on the show. We have a greater sense. We're not more appreciative. We're all very grateful from the get-go, whether I was 25 or 106. But our gratitude is different now, because we know what we're bringing. We get so excited because we're going, oh my God, everybody loved this show so much for the last 25 years. They're going to lose their minds when they see it and hear it again. And it did. It happened. The opportunity, Korey, not only to get a chance to do something again, a quarter of a century later, with the same actors, and then Steven Spielberg again. And it was Steven, not only who made the call to do it, but to hire the same actors. We're in a time when a lot of animated characters are voiced by movie stars. I get that. It's their dime. They can do whatever they want. The producer's dime. But when the king of Hollywood says, oh, no. If we do this, and with whomever we produce this, I just want to make it clear. We're not hiring Liam Neeson to be the brain and Russell Brand to be Pinky. Those actors are terrific, but Yakko's going to be Rob, Pinky's going to be Rob, Maurice is going to be the brain, Tress is going to be Dot, and Jess is going to be Harnell. And when you have a gentleman like that going to bat for you, you know that you're already on the right side of the equation. But this experience was different in that we knew what we were fixing to unleash to people. And ultimately, it didn't miss the mark. It succeeded. It's really, really good. It's timely. The Animaniacs and Pinky the Brain are self-aware. They rewrote the opening title so that the first half is what you guys remember from the 90s. And then the second half is gender balanced, pronoun neutral, and ethnically diverse. The trolls all say we're so passe, but we did meta first. We're anime. That's right away smart.
Yeah.
And so, man, it really nailed it. And I'm so proud of getting 2 shots at this. And then I get to talk with you again. I mean, there really is no downside, man.
Well, hey, and again, the privilege is all mine. If that's one of the benefits of the show coming back, that I get to talk to you about it again. So speaking of the show coming back and, compared to what it was back in the 90s. Now, back in the 90s, it was already very edgy, and you would, the show was sliding things past the censors. The show continues to do humor that every now and then skews towards adults in a very sly way. I'm going to play a little clip right here of some of the examples of those jokes, if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
The internet is the most powerful information sharing tool ever devised. And do you know what most humans use it for?
I do, but I don't think I can say it.
Surprisingly, no, Pinky.
Just came by to introduce myself and show you my buns.
Now, that joke right there, is that something that would have been done, or you could do it back in the 90s, or are the censors just a little more lax now in this new age?
Well, we got away with a lot of stuff years ago. In fact, the one that sticks in my mind the most is we did a joke that Tress MacNeille, my sister Dot, I remember recording it, and we thought there's no way this is going to get by standards and practices. But it did, and it was an episode in which Yakko was playing like a Poirot mystery, and he was trying to find people, to a connection for this particular crime as a sleuth. And I recall that there was a line in this particular episode in which Yakko says something like, Dot, we're going to be dusting for prints. And she comes out, and Dot comes into the room, and he says, no, fingerprint right there. And then Dot says, I don't think so. Isn't that great? And to this day, obviously, Korey knows, that is one of the primary ones. And there are a lot of, like the first time, or that thing you saw with Pinky and the Brain, everybody knows what Pinky is referencing. Well, I don't think I'm supposed to say. And it's great. And the ethos, or not the ethos, the edict from the beginning, from Mr. Spielberg and Tom Ruegger and Gene McCurdy, who was the president of Warner Brothers Animation during the first go-around, was to not condescend to the audience, a la Looney Tunes, Flintstones, all that. It was, look, if the kids are going to kick out of Yakko, Wacko, and Dot dropping a big anvil on Barney, and the adults will laugh at fingerprints. And someday, the kids who laughed at the Barney stuff are going to laugh at fingerprints and go, oh my God, I had no idea. And that was all by design, which is one of the reasons you can watch Bugs and Daffy now and they're not necessarily off color, but they're very hip jokes and cultural references that you didn't get, or I didn't get when I watched them when I was 9 years old, And that is by design. And that's why people like Tom Ruegger and Steven Spielberg and Seth MacFarlane and people who write this stuff, are the incredible writing staff for the last 35 years on The Simpsons. That's why those shows are timeless. It's well executed, good acting, spectacular writing, wonderful music, hip cultural references and not condescending to the audience. That doesn't mean there's not a place for Mickey Mouse Clubhouse or, all adult kind of blue R-rated animation. But in between, there are things that appeal specifically, not specifically, on purpose to a multi-generational range. And Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain fit right squarely in that context.
No, they most certainly did. And I think that's a huge part of the success of the show. And I wish, not every property should be that, but there are so many shows that just don't get it. And they try to do what Pinky and the Brain did or Animaniacs did, and they just don't understand.
Well, I think certainly, firstly, thank you very much. I leave that to people who are the pros, like you and other folks who do this stuff and talk to creative people, other creative people. You're, like I said, we're in the same business, but we all have our personal preferences, and I like to think our show is pretty hip, and I think the proof is in the pudding. But one of the most logical and smartest things that Warner Brothers did and Amblin did was to hire at least the same voice talent for the main roles, because it's just not the same. That doesn't mean that there aren't actors who are incredibly capable, but if you get something that connects with people on that level all over the world, and the original actors are available, but you choose to get somebody else or to get a celebrity, already you're going to be operating at a deficit, because you can have people with the expectations really high, and they should be. We should have a high bar. We should work to exceed the audience's expectations. And right away, if you've got somebody who doesn't sound like it, it just doesn't cut it. So that was a very smart move. I'm grateful, but it was smart. And then having killer writers. The Simpsons is the longest scripted program in the history of television. Mm-hmm. And you can read the scripts by themselves over the whole length of the series. All these incredibly bright writers from, the 80s to now, or whatever, late 80s, early 90s to now, they're funny just off the page. And that's what it's about. Seth MacFarlane and his crew, oh my God. Those writers, those women and men are so smart. Yeah. And like I said, we got nothing without incredible writers and great animators. But I'll tell you what we mainly need, and with whom we have nothing, is you guys, is an audience. And that is not faint praise. We have absolutely zero, zip, nada, bupkis without an audience who is kind enough to take their precious time and spend it, often for hours, with what we do. And let me tell you, that is never, ever lost on me and my friends. We know dead sure that we got nothing without the audience, especially now because there are so many options. Jesus, how many streaming channels are there? It seems like there's a new one popping up every week.
That's true.
So YouTube, there's so many things to grab your attention. So to have something which not only grabs your attention, but you stick with us for a quarter of a century, and you come back and bring your kids and your nieces and nephews and sometimes your grandkids, we have nothing without the audience.
And again, your gratitude never ceases to amaze me. And speaking of hours, it took me about an hour to scroll through your IMDb page. There's so much stuff on there. The reason why I went to your IMDb page, I went there for very specific reasons. Research, of course, being one of those. But you've been in the business so long. I genuinely was curious to see just all the stuff that you've done. Looking at the page. Being that I have a background in animation, I used to do animation, still kind of do a little bit. I look at, I still watch, I still watch a lot of animation of all kinds, including in children's programming, because I just a guy that gets still kind of stimulated from colors and whatnot. So, I'm
Sure.
looking at some of the things that you do, and I'm like, man, I did not know that you were on this show, that show. And again, it's so extensive that I look at this and I just have to wonder, what is your
Sure.
schedule like? I mean, how do you fit all of these shows in?
Well, remember, first of all, you're talking to a guy who's, I was born at night, but not last night. I'm an old dude. I've been here forever. So I have been exceedingly fortunate, and I've had 40 years to work on stuff. A lot of the things that you see on my IMDb page are from the mid 80s. The first shows I did were G.I. Joe and Transformers, and then Johnny Quest, and oh God, we did a bunch of Jetsons stuff and Ninja Turtles in '87, and then Ninja Turtles in 2012, and Tiny Toons and Darkwing Duck and The Mask and the Tick and Gummy Bears and Rescue Rangers, all that
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, I have been really busy. Thank God. There was a time when I was doing 7 shows at the same time, but I don't have to, I don't have to be in a set all day. So I can't, I'm not limited by doing a movie for a year or a TV show, 1 episode a week. I could knock out 2, sometimes 3 episodes in a day, because it generally takes no more than about 4 hours to record my portion of an episode. The real work comes after the fact, and they start animating. It takes 54 weeks for an episode of Animaniacs to be completed, from conception to storyboarding to writing to recording to music to sound effects, post-production, blah, blah, blah. 54 weeks, a year. But my part is just about the least time consuming. So, man, plus remember, I never looked at it as, oh my God, I don't have time. If I got exhausted from working too much, that's great. Because it's rare that you have too much work. And I have had certainly more than my share, but boy, I love it when I get to talk to folks like you, because I'm reminded not only of how much work I've done, but all of the remarkably gifted people with whom I had the privilege of working with. Writers, producers, musicians, people who have passed away, and their legacies are intertwined with mine. That just really gives me enormous pride to say, wow, I worked on something with ... That's pretty cool.
Well, speaking of working so much, we talked about animation because that's such a huge part of your career. But last time you were on, we made sure to bring up some stuff that you've done in live action to let people know that you have done it. Last time I think I brought up a clip from Body Double years ago,
Yeah.
Brian De Palma movie.
Yes.
I just love to just bring up just random clips sometimes when I find people who've done things from a while back. This is just a clip from you in MacGyver, an episode of MacGyver.
I was.
I think you played an FBI agent or a CIA agent or
Yeah,
something.
G-Man, yeah. And the guy who was my partner, this is just what I'm talking about. The guy who was my partner in that episode, we were 2 government agents trying to locate a young lady, not a little girl, I shouldn't say, who, there's yours truly, not the gentleman there, I should say my boss, and he's not in this scene. But the gentleman who played my boss was Russell Johnson, the professor from Gilligan's Island. And man, yeah, when I got to work, I worked on the show for a week, and oh my God, I'm going to get to have lunch every day with the professor. And it was great. He was delightful. He's passed away, but he answered all my questions about every cast member, about his favorite episodes, advice. Oh my God, the professor. It was so cool. And then in MacGyver, I got to know Rick Anderson, and he and I played hockey together for years. On a team of actors out here who go around playing the old timers of National Hockey League teams. So years after I did that MacGyver episode, probably 7 years or so, I went skating and saw Rick at a pickup game. And I said, hey, man, I was on an episode of MacGyver. And he said, which one? I said, I did one called Ugly Duckling. And he said,
Yeah.
oh, that was where the G-men come to find the young lady who's hacking computers or something. I said, yeah. So, and we became friends. We played hockey together for 10 years. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. And all of that stuff, I did Amazing Stories with Steven Spielberg. What else did I do? Saint Elsewhere, a couple of films. Yeah, it's been so much fun. And like I said, acting is acting, man. I just like to work.
Yeah, I'm gonna show people this clip here, just a smidgen, so people can see what you would like in this in live action when you're not doing voices, when you're behind a microphone. You were in front of a camera once. Again, people, this is MacGyver.
Office of Defense Intelligence, ma'am. Is your daughter at home?
What's this all about?
Who are you?
Name's MacGyver.
Are you a relative or something?
Something.
Come in.
They're legit. ODI.
Look at you walking in with authority and everything, man.
Look at me. I'm a badass, man.
You are.
Don't mess with me. 5'9" and a half and 170 pounds, 150 pounds.
It's how
That's
you wear
right.
it. It's your attitude that counts, you know?
That's right.
So we're showing some live action. You listed some live action that you've done. I know voice work is mainly what you do now, but would you like to get into live action again somehow?
Oh,
somewhere?
sure. Yeah, I would love to. I have friends every now and then who have gotten a deal for a show, and I always tell them, man, I'd love to do it. Absolutely, as I say, I love to work. I love animation because I'm only limited by my creativity. I'm not limited by anything exterior-wise.
Yeah.
That, to me, is the purest form of acting. I can be a monster. I can be a dad. I can be a good guy, bad guy. I can be an old lady. I can be an old talking dog. It doesn't matter. It's wonderful to be able to do that. But sure, stranger things have happened. There are often people like Dennis Farina, who used to be on, oh God, I forgot the name of the show. Wonderful Chicago actor who didn't really start working till he was, till he was in his.
Oh, was the show Wise Guys?
Yeah, that's what it was. And he didn't start working a lot till he was probably in his late 50s. I love stuff like that. I love seeing new actors who are older people. Happens all the time. I'm a big fan of British television because there are so many good actors around the world. But in my mind, the British really live that axiom that there are no small parts, right? Every time I watch BBC drama, comedy, you name it, I'll see somebody walk in and have 4 or 5 lines, and then I rewind it, see it again, because they're so good. For the 3 or 4 scenes they're in, they light it up, and it's so inspiring to a guy like me, because I'm not a movie star. I'm like I said, the characters are famous. I love seeing stuff like that because it reminds me that you have the freedom to do whatever you want, and directors and producers and other actors love it when you bring something to the part. And it inspires other actors. So I love seeing that. And so, hey, man, if somebody says, I'm going to get this old knucklehead, Ron Pullman or whatever his name is, as Pinky, I'm going to call him back. I'll tell you what, if you guys, speaking of which, of live action, my buddy Maurice LaMarche is in a really interesting, it's about an 80-minute short film, and it's available on Netflix. Please, ladies and gentlemen, do yourselves a favor and watch this little movie. It's really cool. It's called Murder Anyone. It's kind of a comedy whodunit, and Maurice has the lead, And the film was written and directed by a young man whose dad won a number of Emmys for writing Pinky and the Brain. His name was Gordon Bresack. Gordon has passed away, but his son wrote and directed Murder Anyone, and Maurice is the lead in it. So watch it. It's really, it got like 89. Oh, there you go. Thanks, man. It got like 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm so proud of Mo. He's great in it. There he is. That's my friend the brain right there. And he's such a talent. Maurice himself won back-to-back primetime Emmys for Futurama.
Oh,
Everybody
really?
knows how good he is in the brain, but on Futurama, he won 2 primetime Emmys back-to-back. And they're doing another season of Futurama right now. Maurice is a supremely gifted fellow and about the nicest person you could ever meet.
I've spoken to him, and
Isn't he great?
yeah, he was amazing.
great.
Actually, you don't remember this, but I believe one of you I was talking to, and then I was talking to him, and you called on the phone while I was interviewing him,
I do remember that, Korey. Yes, I do.
and you two
fact,
started doing your thing together, and it was amazing.
Yes. Well, thank you for asking that question, because I really am glad to turn people on to Mo's live action chops. He's really good, man.
Yeah. No, you both are amazing people, and that was that's it. That was my last question. I mean, I could go on asking you questions for hours, but that was pretty much it right there, man. Again, you're a busy man, and I consider it a privilege that you would take the time to sit and talk to me like this. And it really has been wonderful because, there's some interviews you do and they're great. And I've had a wonderful time talking to people, but it has been nice just listening. I mean, I feel like you were giving me advice. I feel like you were like teaching me life lessons. It was a good thing. I feel inspired walking away from this.
Thank you. That is probably the best compliment you could give someone like me. As I said earlier, it's not hyperbole. I am a profoundly fortunate guy. And to have the privilege of speaking to folks like you who are not only professionals and we're in the same business, but you're younger, and to be able to give information, even just not necessarily even intending to do so, but to say things that might inspire you or someone else is really, in my view, what we're all here to do, man. I'm not going to be condescending. You're smart. I'm not saying, well, listen to me, son. Bullshit. You know exactly what you're doing. You're going to be fine. But if there's something you can glean from my experience and just enjoying the conversation, and I hope the same is for your audience, Jesus, man, we're all in this together. And it has never been more obvious to me than the last few years with COVID and politics and the nature of social media and everything being that close and that interconnected, for better and worse. We have never been more in it together from an obvious perspective. We really can see now how we're all interconnected. And man, if we're not here to help one another out, what the hell's the point?
Yeah.
Just to make a bunch of money and then die? Bullshit. You have given me twice now the privilege of chatting with you and your audience. And my friend, we never know when someone listening in Skookumchuck, British Columbia, will hear this and be in a real bad place in their lives. And something you might say or a question you might ask me or someone else, and an answer that is given by someone down the road because the person's, I can't wait to listen to Korey again. And you never know what kind of shape they're in, but it could be something so small as a phrase that changes somebody's outlook, that changes their perception of a problem, that inspires them to do more. And we've all had people do that for us, whether it's a parent or a relative or a movie star or a podcast host. It doesn't matter. It's all about human kindness. And at the risk of getting a little too deep, that's really what this is all about, in my view. So I am grateful that you gave me another crack at it, buddy, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Well, likewise here, and thank you so much. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's walking away feeling inspired from this. And looking forward to, and there will be more, and looking forward to what you're doing next. You know, that since we've been talking, there's not, I don't think, a voice actor that I followed more than you,
Thank you.
who does this. So, again, thank you. I appreciate it.
My great pleasure, buddy. And all of you out there, if I may be so bold, here's the best advice I can give. Laughter is the best medicine. You know why? Because you can't OD and the refills are free. So thanks, buddy.
Thank you. And I'll go ahead and cut you off. Goodbye and have a good one, man.
Thanks, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And another one. Hey, wasn't just being nice when I told the guy that I was very inspired by that whole interview. I really am. I'm kind of pumped right now. You know, I feel like I can do anything after listening to that man. Hey, he overcame throat cancer, and there's no excuse for me. And there's no excuse for you either to go listen to the rest of our interviews that we have up on Double Toasted Interviews. If you think that that was nice, you thought that was inspiring, you got a lot of good information from that, well, there's plenty of others and plenty of other people who are just as interesting, just as thoughtful, just as deep, just as nice. And all of these are not only entertaining, but I think educational. So go check out all of the directors, writers, artists of all kinds, animators, internet personalities, all kind of people here that we talk to. And there was another one right there. I appreciate you guys out there for listening or watching these interviews and supporting everything that we do. As Rob Paulsen said, couldn't do it without you out there. And I don't know if I can sound as gracious and grateful as he has or is about his fans out there, but I'm sure I'm very close behind when I say I love you all, and I really do appreciate everything that you've, all the opportunities that you've afforded us. So please check out that channel and everything else that we do. And also remember that you can get a hold of us anytime. That's the beauty of the internet. That's the beauty of email. Even when I'm asleep, I'm thinking about you, so don't hesitate to email us kcoolmans@gmail.com. That is KCOOLMANZ@gmail.com. Email us with any kind of questions, comments, compliments, insults, input, and our advice. Hit us up on our social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Patreon, all that good stuff. Patreon's really doing well for us right now, so check us out over there. We got more content to show you, working all the time for you. Just copy that information down right there, or for the things that you don't see, just type in Double Toasted. It's going to take you where you need to go, I promise you. And find yourself here in Austin, Texas, please do not hesitate to get a hold of us. I will also say, please get a hold of us early, though, and let us know when you're coming to town. kcoolmans@gmail.com is what you're going to email to us. Your plans for Austin, Texas, whether you're moving here, are you just passing through? Let us know, because we would love to hang out with you. All right, everybody. Another great interview done. And there's more to come, I'm sure, along with a lot of other things that we do here. So until then, until the next one, good night, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you are listening to, or I don't know, you might be watching this. Goodbye and stay toasty.